I thought I could knock two birds out with one stone, ride around a little bit, walk bare at the same time, win-win. Turns out he's deathly afraid of skateboards, so we'll have to work on that training. We've been doing a lot of product work lately, so just working on the product, constantly improving, keeping up with old features, building out new features, hiring more people to help with the product, supporting the product, answering more questions about the product, everything product. And that's really important to us, right? I mean, that's what Printavo is really good support, really good product, and really good education. But the point is that I wanted to explain kind of how product is built, how we put together things, what we decide to put together, and how we have to prioritize and go through everything. Let me get some paper so I could show you. Let me actually take a step back. Back in 2010, I'd been really into skateboarding. I was at college at the University of Illinois, really into skateboarding, really into designing clothes for that area. And as I was doing that, I was working with a friend of mine, Jason. Jason and I were designing and trying to sell clothes, streetwear clothes, skateboarding clothes, and shirts and hats and all that stuff to a bunch of different skate shops and boutiques and everything around. Now there was one in particular, Board Boutique. Board Boutique was right on the edge of Champaign-Urbana area, right off campus, and they sold our stuff on consignment. Now, the owner one day came up to us and said, "Hey, I've got a bunch of screen printing equipment in my basement. Do you guys want it?" And without really hesitating or even knowing what it was, we said, "Yeah, absolutely." It turns out it was a really nice starter setup. It was a 4x4 Riley Hopkins press, a little buddy, a nice washout booth, even the pressure washer, which we went through so many of those things. But anyway, we bought it all and we rented the back of that skate shop's little area from him. It was really cool. We thought that we could be kind of like the Johnny Cupcakes or the Hundreds, where we could print limited runs instead of work with a shop that, of course, was super annoyed that we're trying to do all this custom stuff all the time. So as we started to grow that business, we actually started printing more for the university, and we started growing and growing, and we needed some sort of software to help get us off Google Calendar and Trello and QuickBooks and whiteboards and paper and all this stuff. That's where Printavo came from, and that's where I started building it. Now, as I started building it, the core features were first, right? It was very important for us to be able to do the core things very, very well. And that's been our premise since. And that's what we keep iterating on. Now, with the core, that's this aspect. There is feedback, and feedback comes in through a whole different array of sources. You can have feedback from customers, which we love, and that's what makes us feel good that we're on the right path. Now, customers will say, "Hey, I want to be able to do this or that," and we write all those down and we keep track of it on our idea board. We ask people to suggest stuff, and that's awesome. Now, we balance that with where things we think are going over here. So where industry is going, where we feel technology is going, and how to automate and do everything differently. And the last part is that we have to balance it with what we can do, which is at the bottom. So all of these things come together and form this neat little drawing here. And so basically, we have to balance all of those together. So what our engineering team does is they work in what's called sprints. Every 2 weeks, they grab new work off the backlog, we go through it, we sort what's most important, and then they work through it. This is a combination of bug fixes, of new features, and of maintenance tweaks, scaling tweaks, all of that. And that's difficult over time. As features become less and less easy to solve, we really have to dig deep to be able to create a platform that everybody can use. Here's a great example. Let's say in your shop, you guys are printing like crazy. You've got 10 jobs going on every single day. Now, obviously, there's a sort of margin of error as you continue to print, right? You're not going to be able to print 100 out of 100 shirts perfectly every single day out of the year. So you have to accept that there's going to be some sort of margin of error, determine that in what's right for your company and your customers, and be able to keep improving. If you're only focused on optimizing the way that you print, you wouldn't be able to focus on sales, bringing in new customers, and growing the company and satisfying those and continuing to scale from there. The same thing is said here for how we build product at Printavo. So we know of all the different bugs and we have to prioritize and we have to say, hey, this is most important. This is really stopping people. Let's prioritize this. Or this one's okay, but not a lot of people are hitting it. It's okay if we deprioritize it for a while. Now that may sound kind of crappy, but if we only worked on bugs and not new features, unfortunately the platform would never grow. And as you do add new features, you do create bugs that just naturally happen. Now, as we create new features, we go through that sprint of 2 weeks and we break down the work, we build it, we QA test it, we write what's called internal tests, and then we launch it and show people how to use it. This process, of course, just has flaws because software in itself, again, always has bugs in it. So with those bugs, then we go back and we try to balance it with the new features again and do this and keep moving on a really good momentum every 2 weeks. So after that, it's my job actually to continue to take all three of these sources of feedback, balance it all, and create a really good roadmap for us. And I'm super excited about that because I think there's so much opportunity to help continue to automate and just double down on a lot of the core functionality that we have. So that's kind of how we build product at Printavo. Would love to hear your guys' questions and how it all works. Drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and keep following us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.